In this video, I want to show you how to use the payment function in Excel. And so the payment function helps us figure out like a monthly payment or maybe a quarterly payment or whatever type of payment we're going to have on a loan. So I've kind of set up situation here. Let's say we are going to buy a car. We're going to take out a loan to pay for this car. And our loan value, that's what we have right here. PV, that's principal value, and that's what we put in. And so this is the actual value of how much you're going to borrow on your loan. And so minus whatever down payment, maybe your car really cost $25,000, but you paid $3,000 down, and so you're only borrowing $22,000, right? And of course you'd want to include any other fees, taxes, whatever, but our loan amount is this $22,000 for this situation. That's our principal value that we put there, with an interest rate of 3.2%, which I've entered in here. And you'll notice I have this entered as a percent. And so as long as I enter it this way, make sure it's marked as a percent, and so you'll see up here it's percentage right there, then Excel will do the calculations and treat this as a percent. If you don't mark it that way, you'll want to make sure you convert this from a percent to a decimal. So instead I might use 0.032 for that, and it will do the calculations correctly. Make sure you just don't put in 3.2 without making sure it's percent, or you'll have some really wrong numbers on that. And here is the number of periods. And so how often is this being compounded? We're looking at a monthly payment for this one, and so we have 12 months in a year. That means we have 12 periods in a year right there. And our loan is going to be for 5 years right there. So now you see I have a couple other things here that we need to do. So we have this interest rate, but this is really not the interest rate we need to use in our problem. This rate is really a yearly interest rate, and since we're dividing this year up into 12 periods, our months, then we need to divide our interest rate by 12. And so either I need to do that before I enter stuff into my payment function, or I can do it in the payment function itself. So if we're going to do that before I can do these calculations, I'm taking my rate right here divided by the number of periods in the year, and that gives me the actual rate I'm going to use in my payment formula function that we're working with. Same kind of thing with this NPER. This is number of periods, but we want the total number of periods. So we have 12 in the year, and we have 5 years. That means I need to have 12 times 5, and that will give me the total number of periods that we're working with. And those are the numbers, the values I need to use in my function. So let's get going using our function to figure out what would my monthly payments be for this car loan. So I can start typing it in with the equal sign. It's equals PMT. I'm going to actually use my insert function instead for this one because I like the little table that comes up for this one. And so if I hit that insert function one, mine's showing up because I've used it recently, but I can just type that in and it'll show up there as well. And so hit OK. We're using this function right here. And so now you start to see this information I need to enter. And so first thing is our rate. I want to make sure I use this adjusted rate right here where I've divided. So either I do that beforehand, or I can do that division right here in this. If I select this divided by this, that'll give me that adjusted rate. Or I can just click on that one and it uses whatever values in that cell. Same thing with this one. I'm going to use that value right there, and PV, that's our principal value for our loan. FV, that's future value. Since I'm aiming to pay off this loan, get it down to 0 at some point, that's what my future value should be, is 0. And then we don't need to fill in anything for the type. Hit OK, and it calculates our monthly payment. And so for this car loan, $22,000 at a rate of 3.2%, Over 5 years, we have a monthly payment of $397.27. And so notice mine shows up as red. It's a negative number. Your settings might be set so it just shows as a negative number, which it should be because these are payments, something you're paying out. All right. That's how we use the payment formula in Excel.